They say love is dying in the modern world. But what if I told you it's not men destroying it? It's women, unknowingly keeping other women single. Not because they want to, but because they've been conditioned to. The battlefield isn't in homes or marriages anymore. It's online, hidden behind filtered posts, podcasts, and empowerment quotes that sound uplifting, but secretly sabotage real love. Welcome to the silent sisterhood, where heartbreak is recycled into advice, and bad experiences become commandments passed down like gospel. In today's world, a woman can lose a good man without ever realizing she's the one who pushed him away, not because she wanted to, but because someone else told her she should. Someone told her, "You can do better." Someone said, "Don't settle." Someone whispered, "He's a red flag." And before she knew it, a seed of doubt had been planted in her heart. The modern echo chamber. Every day, millions of women log onto social media looking for inspiration, but end up scrolling through an invisible war of comparison, envy, and emotional manipulation. They think they're just watching funny TikToks or relatable podcasts, but what they're really absorbing is a new belief system, a system that tells them, if your man isn't perfect, he's a narcissist. If you're unhappy for 1 week, it's time to leave. If he doesn't buy flowers every month, he doesn't love you. It's a constant flood of unrealistic expectations, disguised as self-love. And what's worse, it's not men pushing this narrative. It's other women projecting their pain, their regrets, and their disappointments, and passing them off as wisdom. The psychological trap. Here's what happens psychologically. When one woman experiences heartbreak or betrayal, it creates emotional trauma, and trauma seeks validation. So when she sees another woman in a relationship, her mind subconsciously wants to protect her from the same pain. But instead of healing, she starts projecting. She'll say things like, "Girl, you deserve better. He doesn't appreciate you. You're too good for him." It sounds supportive, but often it's not about you. It's about her unresolved pain. In psychology, this is called transference of emotional bias. It's when we give advice not from truth, but from trauma. And here's the twist. Social media rewards that behavior because the more emotionally charged and dramatic your content, the more it spreads, and suddenly pain becomes profitable. From support to sabotage, there was a time when older women mentored younger women in the art of patience, understanding, and commitment. But in today's digital age, mentorship has been replaced by echo chambers, podcasts that mock men, clips that glorify singlehood as freedom, posts that twist genuine issues into entertainment. And what's scary is that it feels empowering at first. It feels like liberation, but slowly it erodes your capacity for connection because real love requires vulnerability, and vulnerability has become the new enemy online. Now, independence is weaponized. Self-love is distorted into selfishness. Boundaries become walls. The message isn't, learn to love yourself first. It's, you don't need anyone, ever. And in chasing that illusion of control, many women unknowingly push away the very love they crave. The algorithm of loneliness, think about it. Every empowerment post you interact with, every breakup meme you laugh at, every red flag checklist you scroll through, the algorithm takes note, and it gives you more of that. Before long, your feed becomes a psychological mirror, showing you what you fear, not what you need. If you're insecure about love, it will show you reasons to distrust men. If you're angry about your ex, it will feed you clips that validate that anger. If you're lonely, it will give you false idols, influencers pretending to be unbothered while quietly craving the same intimacy you're avoiding. It's a digital loop of misery, disguised as empowerment, and it's keeping women single, not because they can't find good men, but because they've been programmed to reject them. The Stoic truth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Today, that color is chosen by what you consume. Every reel, every quote, every video dyes your perception of relationships. If you constantly feed your mind with content that glorifies leaving, you'll never learn the art of staying. If you only consume chaos, you'll start mistaking peace for boredom, and that's what Stoicism teaches us. Peace isn't found by changing partners, it's found by changing perception. The death of gratitude. There's another side effect of this toxic sisterhood. The death of gratitude. Because when you're constantly told you deserve more, you stop appreciating what you already have. You start scanning your partner for flaws instead of virtues. You forget that love isn't about perfection. It's about partnership. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what's happening online. Most relationships aren't suffering because of abuse or betrayal. They're suffering because of imagination. Imaginary problems created by comparison. Imaginary expectations created by strangers. Imaginary standards no real human can live up to. And slowly gratitude fades, replaced by restlessness. The McDonald's example. Remember that story? The mum furious because her husband took their kids to McDonald's. What should have been a simple parenting disagreement was turned into a Reddit war against her husband's character. Strangers calling him toxic, disrespectful, narcissistic, for buying fries and a Happy Meal. And that's what the woman in the original video was trying to say. Social media has normalized labeling people over trivial issues. It's no longer about resolving conflict. It's about winning the argument. And when a platform rewards outrage, peaceful relationships become boring. That's how love dies in the algorithm. The emotional economy. The truth is, emotional content drives clicks, and outrage drives engagement. So what happens? You have influencers monetizing trauma, turning heartbreak into brand deals, turning bitterness into slogans, and behind every viral girl boss or leave him clip, there's an audience of women slowly losing faith in love. They start seeing men as enemies, not partners. They start seeing patience as weakness. They start seeing trust as naivete. But Stoicism says, perception is everything. When you change how you see the world changes. A quiet realization. If you had a good man before you got on social media, he's probably still a good man. He didn't suddenly become toxic. You just started seeing him through someone else's pain. And that's why awareness is everything. Because once you see the manipulation, you can no longer unsee it. You can start reclaiming your peace. You can start protecting your relationship. Not from your partner, but from the noise. Because beneath every "you deserve better" comment, beneath every "he's toxic" post, and beneath every viral breakup podcast, there lies a psychological truth. People project what they haven't healed. 1. The mirror effect. When you scroll through your feed, you're not just seeing opinions. You're looking into a mirror. Every post that triggers you, every video that stirs emotion, every story that makes you nod in agreement is reflecting your inner state. If you're in love and peaceful, you'll see love everywhere. But if you're hurt, angry, or disappointed, the algorithm will hand you content that validates that pain. It's not a coincidence. It's design. Because algorithms are built to keep you engaged. And nothing engages more than emotion. So, when women share their heartbreak, and other women respond with outrage, it creates an echo chamber of shared wounds. That's how emotional contagion spreads. It's how one woman's pain becomes another woman's worldview. 2. Projection. The invisible enemy in psychology. Projection is when we unconsciously transfer our feelings, fears, or insecurities onto someone else. A woman who was betrayed begins to assume all men cheat. A woman who was ignored starts telling her friends, "He's not giving you enough attention." A woman who feels unfulfilled begins to believe that happiness only comes from leaving. But projection doesn't just distort reality. It rewires perception. Soon, women begin seeing problems that aren't even there. Their husband who works late becomes suspicious. The boyfriend who wants quiet becomes emotionally unavailable. The man who disagrees becomes controlling, all because someone else's pain colored her lens. And that's the tragedy. Women are not sabotaging love out of hate, but out of unhealed pain. They don't realize they're becoming the very thing they fear. A toxic influence dressed as emotional empowerment. 3. The cult of perfect relationships. Scroll long enough, and you'll start to believe every healthy relationship must look cinematic. Couples on yachts, daily flowers, Instagram captions about soulmates. But what you're seeing isn't love. It's marketing. Love is messy, imperfect, and deeply human. It's unfiltered mornings, quiet forgiveness, awkward conversations. But social media doesn't reward that. It rewards aesthetic perfection, and that creates a silent pressure, especially among women. Now, it's not enough to be loved. You have to look visibly adored. Your relationship must perform. Your partner must post you. Your life must appear picture perfect. And if it doesn't, you begin to wonder if something's wrong. That's the modern trap. Comparing your reality to someone else's highlight reel. Marcus Aurelius warned about this centuries ago. We suffer because we imagine things differently than they are. And now, we suffer through screens, comparing, envying, doubting, instead of living, loving, and being grateful. 4. The sisterhood of sorrow. Women today don't just share experiences. They share identities. If one woman feels betrayed, her story becomes a collective anthem. Men are trash. Love is a trap. Stay single forever. And what begins as solidarity turns into sabotage. Because not all pain deserves to be turned into universal truth. If a woman's husband cheated, it doesn't mean yours will. If her boyfriend lied, it doesn't mean he will. But this collective bitterness feels comforting. It makes pain feel less lonely. It gives validation, but steals hope. And here's the paradox. The more women unite in pain, the more disconnected they become from love. They form emotional tribes, but lose personal peace. The Stoics would call this emotional contagion, when the crowd's emotions infect the individual's soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." But in today's world, we waste time arguing what a good man isn't. And so we miss the one standing right in front of us. 5. The advice economy. There's a reason every breakup video or relationship red flag clip gets millions of views. Because advice has become entertainment. And in this entertainment industry, fear sells. Influencers don't need your peace. They need your attention. So they give advice that activates emotion, not encourages wisdom. They'll say, if he doesn't do this, leave. If he does this once, he's toxic. If you're unhappy, it's your sign. But they never tell you what real growth looks like. Because growth is quiet, unprofitable, and not viral. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Today, we waste it scrolling, listening to strangers tell us how to love. And the saddest part? Many of these voices aren't evil. They're just lost. People teaching self-love while still broken. People giving marriage advice, having never built one. People confusing trauma with truth. 6. The cycle of emotional rebellion. Let's talk about rebellion. Because that's what's really happening. Social media sells rebellion as empowerment. Don't listen to him. You don't need a man. Stay single and slay. But what are they really rebelling against? Not men, but intimacy. Because intimacy requires trust. And trust requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is something trauma rejects. So, to protect herself, the modern woman builds walls. Walls of independence, walls of cynicism, walls of sarcasm disguised as strength. She calls it freedom, but it's really fear in disguise. The Stoics warned us of this centuries ago, that unexamined emotions lead to bondage, not liberation. Freedom isn't about avoiding connection. It's about not being controlled by fear of connection. A truly free woman isn't one who avoids love. She's one who can love without losing herself. 7. The digital sisterhood versus real support. Here's something uncomfortable. Most women don't have a real support system anymore. Friendship has been replaced by online validation. Instead of deep, intimate conversations, they get temporary relief from likes and comments. Instead of talking through their emotions, they post cryptic quotes. Instead of seeking wisdom, they seek agreement, and that's dangerous. Because wisdom challenges you, while agreement comforts you. Real friends tell you when you're wrong. The internet tells you you're always right, and that's why so many women stay stuck. They mistake attention for support and validation for healing. 8. The masculine energy crisis. There's another angle here. The loss of polarity. When women are told they must never need anyone, that softness is weakness, and that submission equals stupidity. They disconnect from their natural feminine energy, and relationships lose their balance. A good man can't lead if he's constantly attacked. A good woman can't receive if she's constantly defensive. It becomes a power struggle instead of a love story. And here's what's ironic. Many women say they want strong, confident, masculine men. But masculine energy doesn't thrive under constant suspicion. It thrives under peace, respect, and trust. So when social media tells women to never trust, it kills the very masculinity they desire. You can't build intimacy on distrust. You can't demand strength while offering hostility. The Stoics called this living in accordance with nature. And nature itself is based on balance, not domination. 9. Emotional overload. Let's slow down for a moment, because there's something else happening beneath the surface. Emotional exhaustion. Every day, women are being bombarded with too much emotional data. Thousands of opinions, experiences, and conflicting advice. Your nervous system isn't built for that. You're not supposed to absorb 500 stories of heartbreak in 1 hour. You're not meant to carry every stranger's pain. But the digital world doesn't care about your peace. It cares about your attention span. And so, the modern woman ends her day overstimulated, underloved, and confused. She feels everything, but connects to nothing. And when that emotional noise gets too loud, she mistakes peace for emptiness. She starts to crave chaos, because that's what feels normal now. 10. The Stoic cure. So what's the answer? How does a woman reclaim her mind, her peace, and her ability to love? The Stoics would say, through awareness and discipline. Awareness, to recognize when something is shaping your thoughts. Discipline, to choose not to feed what doesn't serve you. If content makes you anxious, unfollow it. If a podcast makes you distrust your partner, stop listening. If your friend keeps telling you to leave, a man you love, step back. Protect your mental diet the same way you protect your physical. 1. Because what you consume emotionally becomes who you are spiritually. As Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. Because wisdom means nothing if it doesn't lead to transformation. So, let's walk the Stoic path back to peace, where emotion meets discipline and love meets awareness. Step 1. Awareness, seeing without judgment. The Stoics believed that the first step to freedom is awareness without attachment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your judgment of them." In other words, the problem isn't the world, it's your interpretation of it. When you see a happy couple online, don't say, "Why don't I have that?" Say instead, "They found love." That's possible for me too. When your friend gives you bad advice, don't hate her for it. Recognize that she's speaking from her own wound, not wisdom. Awareness is not about blame. It's about seeing reality clearly, as it is. Because the moment you stop labeling everything as good or bad, you start to understand it, and understanding leads to peace. Step 2. Detachment. The art of emotional discipline. Stoicism doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means mastering them. It's the difference between feeling anger and being ruled by it, between feeling lonely and acting desperate, between loving deeply and losing yourself in the process. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The modern woman has been taught to react instantly, to text back with emotion, to post when triggered, to speak when angry. But emotional maturity means doing the opposite, to pause, to breathe, to let the emotion pass before you respond. Because silence is not weakness, it's sovereignty. Every moment you choose calmness over chaos, you reclaim your power. And power in a woman isn't found in dominance. It's found in composure. Step 3. Reclaiming feminine energy. There's a quiet strength in feminine energy. A strength that doesn't need to prove, chase, or control. But modern culture has convinced women that softness is weakness, that surrender means submission, and that needing love makes you naive. It's a lie. True feminine energy is magnetic. It draws peace, connection, and devotion. It doesn't demand. It attracts. And it's not about being passive. It's about being emotionally centered. A Stoic woman knows she can feel everything without falling apart. She can love deeply without losing herself. She can forgive without forgetting, because she understands. Peace is more powerful than punishment. When you embody calmness, you make the world bend toward your frequency. Step 4. Emotional independence. Modern relationships fail because people expect love to fix them. But no relationship can save someone who refuses to save themselves. A Stoic woman doesn't look for completion. She looks for companionship. She doesn't need someone to validate her. She chooses someone to walk beside her. She doesn't say, "I can't live without him." She says, "I can live without him, but I choose not to." That's power. That's emotional independence. It's the ability to love fully while remaining whole. Seneca wrote, "He who depends on himself will find happiness within." So before you seek love, seek peace. Before you demand loyalty, build stability. Before you expect understanding, master your emotions, because the energy you bring to love determines the love you attract. Step 5. Setting boundaries without bitterness. Many women mistake boundaries for walls. Walls shut people out. Boundaries teach people how to come closer without hurting you. The Stoics practice this too. They set boundaries with their thoughts, their time, and their emotions. Marcus Aurelius didn't let gossip enter his mind. Seneca didn't let chaos enter his circle. Epictetus didn't let insults enter his peace. Why? Because they understood. You can't control others, but you can always control access. So, stop arguing to be understood. Stop explaining your worth to people who don't see it. Stop seeking validation from people who benefit from your confusion. Your peace is sacred ground. Protect it. And remember, silence is a boundary too. Step 6. Healing the sisterhood. This is where it comes full circle. The truth is, Women don't need to turn against each other. They need to heal with each other, because every woman you call toxic is probably just hurt. Every woman giving bad advice was probably once misled. Every woman who mocks love was probably once betrayed. The healing begins when women stop shaming each other and start listening to understand. When they stop preaching cynicism and start modeling peace. When they stop competing for attention and start collaborating for growth. Imagine if women united not in pain, but in purpose, not to share misery, but to share mastery. That's what the Stoics did. They turned pain into philosophy and suffering into strength. Women can do the same. 7. Step 7. The Stoic love mindset. Now let's talk about the mindset of a Stoic woman in love. She doesn't chase. She attracts. She doesn't demand. She inspires. She doesn't react. She observes. If he lies, she doesn't explode. She withdraws. If he disrespects her, she doesn't beg. She leaves. If he loves her, she reciprocates without fear. She doesn't use manipulation, silent treatment, or emotional games. Because she knows power gained through games is temporary. Power rooted in peace is eternal. She doesn't confuse distance with dignity. Her calmness is her crown, and the man wise enough to see her peace will never take it for granted. 8. Step 8. Learning to trust. Again, trust is the final frontier of healing, and it's the hardest. Because to trust again means to risk again. But here's the truth. You cannot experience love without risk. The Stoics knew this well. They loved knowing it could be lost. They gave knowing it might not return, because their peace didn't depend on outcome. It depended on intention. To love stoically means to love without attachment to reward. It means doing your part and letting go of the rest. If they stay, it's grace. If they leave, it's guidance. You don't chase what's not meant for you. You trust that what's meant will never require you to betray your peace. That's real strength. 9. Step 9. Silence, stillness, and the sacred feminine and modern women are told to speak louder. But sometimes, wisdom is found in silence. When you stop talking, you start hearing. When you stop forcing, you start receiving. When you stop controlling, you start aligning. Stillness isn't inaction. It's focused presence. And that's where intuition lives. Beneath the noise. A Stoic woman doesn't rush decisions. She sits with them. She lets clarity rise naturally because she knows peace doesn't shout, it whispers. And when you become still enough to hear it, your entire life starts aligning. 10. Step 10. Amor fati. Love your fate. We end with the most sacred Stoic principle. Amor fati. It means love your fate. Love every heartbreak that made you wiser. Love every delay that built your patience. Love every ending that protected your peace. Because nothing in your life is random. Everything is sculpting your soul. You weren't rejected. You were redirected. You weren't broken. You were rebuilt. You weren't unlucky. You were being prepared. The Stoics saw pain as a teacher, not a punishment. And when you learn to love your fate, you stop fighting reality. You start flowing with it. That's when love returns to you naturally. Because you're no longer chasing it. You've become it. Music swells. Soft strings. Hopeful tone. Cinematic pacing. Narration. Final monologue. The modern woman doesn't need more advice. She needs more awareness. She doesn't need to hate men. She needs to understand herself. She doesn't need to reject love. She needs to return to balance. Because the truth is, women aren't keeping each other single on purpose. They're doing it unconsciously, through wounds, comparison, and fear. But now you know. And awareness is liberation. So, choose differently. Speak peace into your circle. Be the woman who doesn't feed the noise, but restores the calm. Because when you become that woman, you don't just find love, you create it. Not from desperation, but from depth. Not from fear, but from faith. And maybe then, the sisterhood will finally heal. Not through rebellion, but through wisdom.